You know what I find very funny is that a lot of guys who work out and they take the juice. You understand what I'm saying? They criticize people, who let's say you eat too much, or they criticize people if you smoke, or they criticize people if you drink, or whatever the case may be. Okay, they act like they're health fanatics. They have no idea the health problems people get from steroids. You know, and in many cases, it could even lead to be fatal. I had a friend of mine in Brooklyn that took, the growth, the steroid, all that stuff. His liver exploded in his body. I never will forget this as long as a very good friend of mine, big guy, worked out every day, took a lot of juice, and he used to break my balls, very similar to Teddy Zane. Rich, gotta stop eating so much, gotta be like me. You gotta do, And, okay, I'm like, whatever, I said, listen, man, you, I'm me. Guy's liver explodes in his body. I don't know how he survived. It's a miracle. I don't know what they did. I'm not a doctor, but they were able to save his life. But he was never the same afterwards. I don't think he ever worked out again, and just bad things happen, man. I know people have told me stories. Like I have a friend. I don't want to mention his name, but he's an ape. Okay, this is a guy who works out. He's a professional. I'm not going to mention his name. And he says to me, "Listen, man." He goes, "I have a lot of problems having sex." There's a guy that takes a lot of juice. I mean, yeah, and he's a young guy, too young guy. And he says to have a lot of problems, a lot of problems having sex. So I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, it's just, listen, it just, I can't get it up. You understand? You got bish. I'm like, but I don't understand. You're a young man. What's the problem? He goes, I don't know. I think it's the juice. So I've spoke to a lot of people who take juice and their schlong don't work and they got tiny raisin balls, like their testicles become so small that it's not even like you think I'm exaggerating when I say raisin bowls. No, I'm not exaggerating. So at the end of the day, it's like, what's the purpose of being this like He-Man? You're like the Incredible Hulk, you're Lou Ferrigno, your schlong doesn't work. You know what I mean? Your balls are tiny like raisins. And you can't even have sex. I mean, isn't the whole point of like working out so that you can get women? See, this is the mentality of people like Teddy Zane, okay? The mentality of people like Teddy Zane, right? Is that he gets these really, really awesome sports cars. He works out, he puts his hat on like he's Slash, he's got the long hair. But at the end of the day, if the schlong don't work, if the balls are tiny. See, to me, like if I had to prioritize, okay, if I had a choice, let's call me old fashioned, call me crazy, call me a lunatic. If I had to make a choice between being like kind of ripped up, muscles, all that stuff, or having my schlong work and my balls big and nice and, meatball style, actually in my case, they're bigger than me. I'm talking about the real big Italian meatballs. I would rather have the big Italian meatballs than the schlong though, because my schlong works great. Sex is one of the things you have to say. Like I indulge in certain things every day that are very important to me. I love making love, you know, to my wife. Right? They're like, who else? My wife. My wife. I love food. Okay. And I love entertainment. I love having fun. I love music. See, people have this thing now, they see me in bed all day. They don't realize that I do a lot. I do a lot of stuff. Like just the other day, we were out, we always take the kids out. We do things. We went, I'll tell you just the last week. What the last week? We were at the Outback Steakhouse. We went to Red Robin. We saw the movie The Invitation. We had a really, really great time. We went to a beautiful restaurant, the Captain's Inn, to celebrate my wife's 44th birthday. This is all within like a week and a half. You know what I mean? We went to Sakura, which is a great Japanese restaurant in what was it, Maze Landing. We're always doing things, okay? But you're like, it's all about food. Well, but it's also entertainment. The kids love to see the show when we go to Socorro. The big volcano, the fire. They play with the knives. It's entertainment. They make it very fun. They blow up the balloons for the kids. We always take the kids out. We take them shopping. We get them clothes. We set them up for school for everything they need. I'm not always lying down. But I'm just saying if I had a choice between looking like, Schwarzenegger or for Lou Ferrigno and having my schlong work. And it's like I said, I don't want to get into it, but I've had firsthand experience from people. Told people like I met Mark Gastineau. I told you the story. I mean, listen, as much as I love Sly, I love Stallone. I love him. He's a great guy. But I'm just saying, Mark Gastineau married Stallone's ex, Bridget Nielsen. And I happened to become very good friends with Mark Gastineau because I was working at this invention company. He had an invention. We used to hang out. But the problem is, Gastineau never had any money. It's like all these big, like, famous athletes. I noticed at some point in their lives, I don't know if they're cheap or if they just don't have money. They never have money on them. I used to take this guy out. We're in Manhattan. We go out to steakhouses, we go out to restaurants, and the guy's ordering like an $80 steak, a bottle of wine. At the end, he's like, Rich, you got this, right? You can take care of this. I'm like, okay, one time I do it, two times I do it, three times I do it. It gets to a point I'm like, I'm like, Mark, look, you're a nice guy. Weren't you making $75,000 a game at the with the Jets? He's like, it's all gone. Wives, this, that, it's gone, Rich. The money's gone. So anyway, he wanted to make it up to me. Mark Gastineau one day wanted to make it up to me. And he's like, listen, Stallone, he's at Planet Hollywood. This was a long time ago. And he says, I think it was during the time he was making the movie Get Carter. He goes, I'll get Sly to come over. So I was like so excited. I'm like, I'm gonna meet Sylvester Stallone. So we go to Planet Hollywood. Mark Gastineau tells the waiter, tell Sly Mark Gastineau wants to say hello. So I'm like, it's happening. I saw Stallone was 6 feet. He had that goatee, from Get Caught. He was 6 feet in front of me, right? So the waiter, I guess, tells Stallone, Mark Gastineau's here. The waiter comes back. Mr. Stallone is busy. He says, I'm sorry. So I kind of put two and two together. Mark Gastineau, you know, married Sylvester Stallone's ex-wife, Bridget Nielsen. So I really don't think Stallone liked Mark Gastineau. So anyway, we're sitting down. We left. We went to another bar restaurant, and he starts telling me the story, which I repeated once before. That Bridget, not listen, Stallone can't get mad at me because I'm going to say alleged, okay? But I'm just telling you what Bridget Nielsen, who was the ex-wife of Sylvester Stallone, told Mark Gastineau. That's all I'm saying to you. That's all I'm saying to you. I'm just saying that the balls were tidy, that there were problems, standing down below, and that's because of the human growth, the steroids. Okay, so once again, getting back, Teddy Zane could have all the muscles in the world. He could be, you know what I mean? He could take that and he could leave it because at the end of the day, what's down below is what makes me say, hey.